Alrighty guys, well welcome back to another episode of Nibble Hunters Outdoors. This is going to be a little different style video than you guys are used to seeing on our channel, but I figured I had to do this big guy right here some justice. So let's get into the 3-year story of Mufasa. The story of Mufasa kind of starts in the fall of 2023. Me and my wife had just both killed our deer first couple days of November of 2023, and we decided we were going to go look at a house. We were going to be getting married really soon. So we come to this house, look at it, we decide we wanted it, had some property with it. We end up closing on it probably the end of December, into the first part of 2024. And as any hunter would, I was pretty eager to get some cameras out, see what was around the area. So around the first part of January, it was late season, had snow on the ground, threw some cameras out, threw some feed out. And one morning in the middle of January, this was one of the first bucks I had show up on camera, and you could just tell he's going to be an absolute giant one day. My guess at the time, he was probably a 2.5-year-old deer. He had points everywhere. I'm not exactly sure how many points he had that year, but I was like, if that deer can get a couple more years on him, he's going to be something really special. So going into shed season that year, didn't find his sheds. My neighbor actually ended up picking up his right side, and I was like, okay, so he's staying down that way a little bit, or at least staying down there more than he was at my house, because I didn't have him a lot, just had him just occasionally late season that year. So I was really eager to get into the summer of 2024 and see if I could pick him up. So the start of 2024 summer, put some minerals out. Wasn't really getting anything on camera, so I had actually made a mineral site back here behind my house, put just a regular mulcher camera on it, and figured I'd just check it once our season come around, because my tack cams, I had them at some other spots, was just trying to find a deer to go after, because I knew this deer wouldn't be old enough to target, but I knew he could probably potentially be a shooter score wise, but wasn't a deer I was planning on targeting, but I at least wanted to have a camera back there in case he did show up, because I wanted to see what he would blow into. And sure enough, I checked that camera. I think it was the first couple of days of October of 2024, and sure enough, he was on there on a couple occasions. I had him the last week of August in full velvet, and absolute giant. I bet he threw on probably 30 to 35 inches from 2.5 to 3.5. I'm guessing he was probably somewhere in that 150, 160 mark. And I was like, okay, he's still alive. I actually had him one more time after that. I think it was September the 16th of 2024, around 4:30 in the afternoon. He was hard-horned, and just obviously an absolute giant, something I was definitely looking forward to seeing the rest of the year. So fast forward into the 2024 season, didn't see him the rest of the year. I actually ended up killing my deer the first week of November of 2024 at my family's ground, and me and my wife continued to hunt throughout the whole season. Wasn't seeing him on camera. We did have a couple targets that we were going after that had some age on them, and just could never catch up with any of them. And she ended up probably giving up once it hit about the first couple of weeks of January. It was getting cold, and she just threw in the towel for the year, I'm guessing, which I don't blame her, because she hunted some pretty tough conditions, multiple sits in a row. Really put the time in, and it just didn't work out. And I think it was around mid-January again of 2025, he shows up down here behind the house on my feeder. Snow was on the ground, and he had actually broke off his G2 on his right side. And I had him just a couple occasions there that late season. He come back through again around probably the first week of February, and he had a big inside point that he had, and he broke that off too. So his right side ended up just being a G2 and a G3 and a brow that year when he shed, and my neighbor again picked up his right side in his food plot. So I was like, okay, that deer's spending more time away from me than he is on my property. So I ended up picking up another permission piece just down the road from my house. So going into summer of 2025, I still had my minerals back there. I still had my cell camera running on it just in case he did show up, because I knew this year he was at least a 4-year-old. He could have been 5, I'm not exactly sure, but I knew this year he could be a shooter for sure, the way he's been growing. So fast forward to May of 2025. It was around the last week of May, I think. I got my first pictures of him. I didn't know it was him at the time. He just was out to his brows, and maybe was probably 2 inches on his beam. And I was like, okay, that deer's somewhat mature, has good mass. Didn't know what it was at the time. So probably another 3 weeks later, he shows back up, and He's really wide. You can start to see his G2s, which end up being his splits that he has on both sides. You get to see that palmation on the velvet, and I'm like, okay, that deer's going to be an absolute giant. I knew it was him for sure, and I'm like, okay, I'm hoping he sticks around at least, or I can at least get updates on him on camera, on minerals, just to see what he actually ends up finishing out at. Picked him up one more time, probably 2 or 3 weeks later after that. He was just starting his splits on his G2s. They were probably up, I don't know, 4 inches or so. And you could tell he was definitely going to be a shooter this year. He was probably going to go into that 170, 180 mark was my guess at the time. Picked him up one more time after that, around, I don't know, middle of July, probably the 12th, 13th, somewhere in there. And I was like, okay, I gotta try to find something to do here. I gotta find where he's staying at least move some cameras on a permission piece that I have down the road to see if I could pick him up there. And I had a mineral site running down there all summer. I had a cell camera there. Never did pick him up one time down there. So I had a couple bucks there that I was gonna let my wife shoot this year. So I threw her up a blind, threw out some feed, threw out a Tacticam, and I think it was 2 days after I put that stuff up, boom, there he was, right after daylight. I think it was July 15th, 16th, somewhere in there in the morning, daylight. And I was like, oh my, absolute giant. I was like, okay, I need to spend some time down here because I got him in velvet, got him on feed. So I was like, let's see if I can get him into the season. Fed him from, I don't know, July 15th to August 17th was the last video I had of him. I had this deer every day in daylight, and was just hoping I could get him to season and able to at least hunt him and potentially harvest him. So EHD has been hitting us really bad this year in Southeast Ohio. It's been all over Facebook, all over Instagram. I'm seeing just every day people posting deer that they're finding dead. This is the worst that I've seen it since I've been alive. It hit us hard last year, but this year, for some reason, has been way worse than last year. We've had more rain this year, but it's been really bad. So last video I had of him was August 17th in daylight, and then didn't see him. August 17th was a Sunday. I didn't see him Monday, didn't see him Tuesday, didn't see him Wednesday, Thursday. So I was like, okay, these deer are weird this time of year. They sometimes go off, they shed their velvet, they start moving around to their fall ranges. So I was like, I'm not going to get too worried yet, but I'm at least going to drive around some water sources, some ponds that were close by, and just see if I could find him. So I drove around that Friday with my four-wheeler, checked all 3 water sources that were close to where I was getting him on camera, and didn't smell nothing, didn't see something. I actually did see some buzzards up in the air. They wasn't really like congregated to one area. They were kind of spaced out, just flying around. I'm like, okay, like maybe it's not him. Could be, but I was like, they're not really concentrated in one area, so I'm like, maybe it's just them flying around. So I did stop at one of the ponds, and I sat there for like 2 or 3 minutes, and I thought I smelled something, which later in the story you'll see that it actually was him that I smelled at the time, but I didn't know it. I just got a little whiff of something, and I sat there, and I was like, I don't smell it no more. So I just kept driving, drove around the ponds, didn't find nothing. So fast forward, that was Friday. So fast forward to that Sunday morning, I get a text and from my neighbor that said, he's like, man, EHD's hitting us really hard this year. And I was like, yeah. I said, it's been pretty rough. And he said he wasn't seeing much on his cameras. And I said, yeah, I wasn't really either. I said, it's been slow here the last couple weeks. And he had said the neighbor that I hunt on had found a deer dead. And I was like, what are the odds it's him? So I was like, you got a picture of it? And he said, yeah, he's sending me the picture now. And sure enough, I get that text, and it made me sick. It was him. He had found him dead, probably, I don't know, it was probably 80 yards from the pond that I had looked. But everything surrounding that pond is just real high weeds. It's real brushy. And I just didn't see him laying there. I should have, but I didn't. Basically, everything was pretty much rotted up by then. So we obviously did the right thing, contacted the game warden. He came down here, was super cool about it. He ended up giving me a salvage tag, which is right here. So he's legal. And just not the way that I wanted this story to be told or the way it to end. I would have rather hunted him all season long and not killed him than him die to this and not get a chance to hunt him at all. Especially this caliber of deer. It's my biggest deer by 30 inches, by far. So 3 years of history just ending like that just really sucks. So my cousin, he's a taxidermist. I'm gonna get a cape for him and at least do him some justice, get him mounted, and at least show him off. Try to get these antlers stained a little bit to make them come back to life a little bit. It still had some rotted velvet on it that is stained up, and still stinks a little bit. But yeah, so I at least have some kind of closure on the deer. I end up getting him rough scored at 183 inches. Just an absolute giant. And just like I said, not the way I wanted this story to be told. But yeah, so that's the 3-year story of Mufasa. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little segment. I know it's different than what's used to being dropped on this channel, but had to do him some justice, had to at least tell the story. And so yeah, season hasn't even started yet, and feels like it's already over for me. It's been really bad here with the HD, just nothing showing up on camera. Hopefully where you guys are hunting at this year, you're not experiencing anything like this. And yeah, so that's a story for him. Probably be one of the bigger deer that I have on camera for a while. Just an absolute giant. Hate to see him go like that, but it is what it is. Mother Nature has a weird way of working sometimes. So thanks you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys have some luck this season. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.